If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly? Since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control.
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Tonight, sabotage at sea. That's what President Biden is calling the leaks and explosions along the Nord Stream pipelines. The Russian gas lines are essential. They supply 35% of gas from Russia into Europe. They've been attacked.
It was a deliberate act of sabotage, and now the Russians are pumping out disinformation and lies. We're going to work with our allies to get to the bottom of precisely what happened. There will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it. It was a deliberate act of sabotage. We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it. And now the Russians are pumping out disinformation and lies. We're going to work with our allies to get to the bottom of precisely what happened. And at my direction, I've already begun to help our allies enhance the protection of this critical infrastructure.
Oh my God, it's a mirage! I'm telling you all, it's sabotage!
NATO this morning calling those mysterious leaks in the Nord Stream pipelines sabotage.
These actions from President Putin signal very clearly that he knows he is losing. He's on his back heels, and he's making every attempt to intimidate those who would stand up to him.
Sources telling us that European security officials observed Russian Navy ships earlier this week in the vicinity of those leaks in the Nord Stream pipelines that were likely caused by underwater explosions. Do you think Russia is behind the sabotage of the pipelines?
Well, I think all the signs point to some type of sabotage. Russia does have an undersea capability that would easily lay explosive devices by those pipelines. But I think this is clearly an act of sabotage of some sort, and Russia is certainly the most likely suspect.
You don't. I told you. CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
It's pretty amazing when you consider the track record of the people who are telling us that Russia did this. They're the same ones who told us that Russia installed Trump in the White House and blackmailed him with a P-tape.
Do you know if the Bureau ever relied on the Steele dossier as part of any court filings, applications, petitions, pleadings?
I have no awareness.
Did the CIA rely on it?
No.
Why not?
Because we didn't. It wasn't part of the corpus of intelligence information that we had. It was not in any way used as a basis for the intelligence community assessment that was done. It was not.
Well, yesterday's IG report provided even more information about what actually happened and confirmation of a fact that's been pretty obvious for a while. Former Obama CIA chief John Brennan is a liar. Not only that, he lied to Congress. In the spring of 2017, Brennan told the House Intel Committee that the Steele dossier played no role in the creation of intelligence community assessment on Russian interference that was presented to both President Obama and President-elect Trump. Now, Brennan was not vague about this. He said unequivocally on camera, the dossier was totally irrelevant.
It was not in any way used as a basis for the intelligence community assessment that was done.
That was a complete lie. The IG report proves it. A lie. The Steele dossier, in fact, was a major element of the intelligence assessment, and Brennan in particular found it very important. In other words, John Brennan, not a close call here, perjured himself on camera in front of the world.
And it did not play any role whatsoever in the intelligence community assessment that was done, that was presented to then President Obama and then President-elect Trump.
John Brennan has disgraced himself. He's disgraced the country. He's disgraced the intelligence community. He is the one man largely responsible for the destruction of Americans' faith in the intelligence community and in some people at the top of the FBI. He knows about the dossier. He denies knowledge of the dossier. He briefs the Gang of Eight up in the Hill about the dossier, which they then use to demand the FBI start an investigation into Trump. It is that simple. This guy is the genesis focus of this whole debacle, this Obamagate spying scheme.
Russia installed Trump in the White House and blackmailed him with a P-tape, who told us that Russia placed bounties on U.S. troops in Afghanistan.
Intelligence officials in Europe who've confirmed to CNN that Russian officers put bounties on American and British troops serving in Afghanistan.
You actually spoke with intelligence officials. They confirmed that reporting.
The European intelligence official I spoke to says that Russian military intelligence officers offered money to Taliban fighters in Afghanistan to kill American or other coalition fighters.
The U.S. intelligence, they report the U.S. intelligence community has assessed that a Russian military intelligence unit has been offering bounties to extremist groups in Afghanistan to kill U.S. troops.
It's another Russia hoax. They've been giving me the Russia hoax, Shifty Schiff and all these characters from the day I got here. And we're working with Russia right now on a non-proliferation agreement, nuclear non-proliferation, and we can get something like that, it'd be great.
President Trump doubted U.S. intelligence that Russia may have offered bounties to the Taliban to kill U.S. soldiers.
I think it's a hoax. I think it's a hoax by the newspapers and the Democrats.
Mr. Trump's presumptive Democratic challenger, Joe Biden, said he's more mentally prepared for the job.
I can hardly wait to compare my cognitive capability to the cognitive capability of the man I'm running against.
Who told us that Russia placed bounties on U.S. troops in Afghanistan, that Russia was injuring U.S. diplomats with supersonic microwave weapons.
A series of bizarre attacks, dozens of unexplained illnesses, including head injuries, forced the U.S. to bring home diplomatic staff from China and the embassy, the U.S. Embassy in Cuba. Speculation at the time was that it was some sort of sonic attack. But now the scientist who led the investigation tells the New York Times the main culprit is likely some kind of microwave weapon.
Dizziness.
You have trouble retrieving words?
I do, yeah, significant trouble.
So debilitating that it feels like your head is being split open. So debilitating that I couldn't sleep. I was thinking, what is wrong with me? Something's wrong.
The illness was dubbed the Havana Syndrome.
Large-scale CIA report into the Havana Syndrome reportedly says that those suffering from the condition were not targeted in a global campaign by a foreign power. In fact, it concludes that the vast majority of cases were the result of stress or other conventional medical explanations.
Supersonic microwave weapons, and that Russia invented the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop. And we're supposed to take now their claims on faith. When, by the way, at the same time, for many years, those who've been opposing the pipeline, including many of those now accusing Russia of blowing it up, have been telling us the reason they're opposed to it is because it gives Russia leverage over Europe by controlling its energy supply. So just think of it logically. Why would Russia blow up its only form of leverage? It does not make any sense. Now, the reason why someone else would want to blow this up from the West, and as you noted, John Kirby, when he was asked by Brett Baer, did not answer the question of whether it could have been a U.S. proxy. He only said that the U.S. was not involved, which to me is very revealing.
Here's what we know. We know that Russian support ships, Russian Navy support ships, were spotted in the vicinity of the leaks on these pipelines. We were also told by a source familiar with the intelligence that Russian submarines were spotted in the general area last week.
The Kremlin announcing its own preliminary investigation into possible international terrorism.
Here in Moscow, of course, many people say that we should look at who might benefit from this incident. And of course, they point at the United States, which might find it easier to sell its gas to Europe.
The very fact that we rely on spooks like John Brennan for information lets you know everything you need to know about this. Once again, it's Russia's fault.
I think this might be, again, a sign that Russia is intent on doing whatever it believes it needs to do in order to weaken European resolve.
The very fact that John Brennan is trotted out on MSNBC, or in this instance, CNN, to feed you the narrative that the madman Putin did it just doesn't make any sense. And here's the biggest problem with that. Russia controls it. So if they wanted to punish, Europe, countries in Europe, if they wanted to punish a particular country, all they had to do was turn off the spigot. All they had to do was just, lefty loosey, righty tighty, just, turn off the gas. But what they've done now makes no sense because by all experts, what happened to the Nord pipelines are irreparable. They won't be repaired. They will not be usable. So ask yourself the question, why in the world would Russia get rid of their major leverage by obliterating it when they could have just turned it off?
I promise you we'll be able to do it.